Good afternoon. Welcome to the LNP Sound event forum show. Paul, I've stopped saying podcast. It's one extra syllable. And we've just done a call.
Whatever makes it easier for you, Ben, that's fine by me.
Well, no, Paul, I've just learned this week that every second counts. So I reckon that's going to save us some seconds over time. And this will become relevant when we introduce our guest today, won't it?
Very true. Very true.
So, wow, another great week, Paul. More delays. School's now not open until March the 8th at the earliest. It's all going swimmingly as always, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Along with the fact that Glastonbury's got cancelled and numerous other things. And now people are kicking off, I think the most hilarious one, which I'll probably get criticised for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I don't really care, is the fact that people are criticising the adult industries, such as your strip joints and that, because they've received funding and other hospitality things and events venues haven't. The government are giving money to the strip joints and everything quicker than they have. So you can see where the obviously the ministers and MPs' minds are right now, can't you?
Fantastic.
Oh, fantastic. And that brings us, that voice in the corner there, who's laughing at that story as well, brings us to our guest today. I've just done 4 amazing sessions of improvements of business skills, of how to tighten up on things and how to get the most out of what we achieve. Paul, you've been with this guy for quite a while now, haven't you? I'll let you introduce the man himself and what your experiences are.
Yeah, I blimey, me and Peter go way back is the best way to describe it. I first met Peter, it would have been start of 2004. And we've known each other a very long time. He's an excellent author, has written a number of books, which I'm sure he'll talk about as well. But most recently, is very well known for starting up an organisation called the Family Business Practice. So to tell us more about it, we have our special guest this week is Mr. Peter Roper.
Hey guys, thank you for that. There you go. Sorry, I'm still laughing about the strip joints getting the money. To be honest.
Brilliant, Pete.
Can't make it up, can you?
Wow.
You can't.
No.
There you go. So, well, thanks for having me on, lads. It's good of you, and appreciate the opportunity to just share some ideas, I guess.
Yeah, that's why we've got you on here, Pete, is obviously to increase people's knowledge and to obviously make them aware of what you offer. So the family business practice, fair to say you're a little bit quirky. You've got certain traits that people don't forget. So Pete, from the top, you tell us your story, and then we'll listen to it. And
yeah. Well, Ben, I could talk about me for hours, and I don't want to bore everybody to death. But I've been doing business consulting or business development consulting all my life. I'm 64 now, so 40 odd years. Corporate career till 40. Ran my own business. We've had 3. Currently have 3 family businesses of our own. 6 bit years ago, I was fed up with people not taking family businesses seriously in my mind. So I started the family business practice. I got 35 people in a room in the West Midlands and said, why don't we get together, share best practice, knowledge, information, education. They all said, Peter, if you do it, we'll support you. I'm driving home with my wife, Annie, and she said, what have you done this time? And I said, I think I've started a membership organisation. And that is the truth. That's how it started. But the serious part of that was that, that good people know good people. The whole idea was to learn from each other and develop each other and of course network well together, and that's how we kicked off. And we are different in that we don't work like networking organisations. That's not a criticism of those at all. It's just it's not what our members wanted, because we're member built. Because I asked the members, what do you want? They said, we don't want 60-second presentations. We don't want single seat policies. We don't want to be told to give referrals. We want to do things in a relaxed way, and we'll do what we think's right. And so we said, okay, that's what we'll do. So that the practices manifesto is very much about providing a good place to have a conversation with, to provide excellent education. And to network well effectively, and that's what we do. And up to March of last year, we had about 150 members. We were having 5 locations a month across the West Midlands, 70 odd events a year, and then COVID hit. So what do we do then? What we've done is we've developed a complete online solution there, where we run All our online events are free. We brought a virtual membership in, which costs next to nothing. It's 72 quid a year. We will have run 51 events by the end of April already for this year, and we're looking at 150 events in total this year. And so we completely moved the business into a different platform, and we've got people joining us at the moment every day. Literally, the last 11 days, somebody new has joined us every day. So we must be doing something right, I guess. So that's kind of where we are.
Well, everybody's doing something right to moving forward at the moment, aren't they? And it's quite a fortunate position to be in if you are moving forward. So we'll come back to the number 72 because that's quite a key to your history, isn't it, Pete? So do tell us about, because £72 is not only 72 and the £72 to join. How long are your meetings, Pete? And then explain them as the number 72.
All right. Okay. Well, that's easy. Every Zoom event is 72 minutes long. So everything we do is 72. It's based around 72 minutes, 72 minutes long. There is two reasons for that. Paul knows me from old, I've had a long speaking career and authorage and all the rest of it. So I was very used to standing in front of groups of people. I've spoken in front of over 500,000 people over the years. And I know an audience you can only hold really 60 or 70 minutes on the outside is about as long as you're going to do. On Zoom or the equivalent, it's a lot harder to do that. So I knew that we should say to everybody, our sessions will never be more than about 70 minutes long. And I decided to make it memorable by using the number 72. And the second reason for that was the fact that's my old motor racing number, and it was my lucky number. So we put the two together, and the family said, "Dad, that's a great idea." And that's why we did it. And people remember it. People say, "Oh, I've been to that 72-minute thing." And I go, "Oh, it's Peter Roper, isn't it?" So it's a bit of fun. The serious intent is, we don't go on boring forever where everybody's falling asleep on a Zoom call, because you just can't handle it, can you? Let's face it. So we're about informative, fast, punchy, get to the point, but in a relaxed way, if that makes sense, and it's good fun. And so we said, right, we'll do 72 with everything. So that's it.
Yeah, an audience is falling asleep is why me and Paul have guests on here, so they don't have to listen to us just driving on every now and then. And one thing I've noticed, Paul, today is that when I put Pete on full screen for the purpose of the recording, I turn into very orange. I feel like an ex-American president at times, I tell you. But anyway, back to the serious conversation to give our audience some hints and tips. Pete, it's right in saying that you're in the position where you actually are an event, but you're also educating a lot of people about event skills, aren't you? Which we've experienced over the past couple of weeks with you, in the leadership and management skills. Tell us about that side of the business.
Well, when we develop the practice, the whole idea of it is not just that we get together and network, etc. We are a business development practice, so we put not only a series of events on where people can connect or people can learn from each other. We've also got some development programs. Now, fortunately, some of those are funded, and some of those are, low investment, high return programs. So the one we've just run, was fully funded, and which is great, and had a qualification at the end of it, a formal qualification. We geared the program for business skills, because at the minute, business skills is what everybody needs in their business. We always need them, but it's a very timely reminder, because life's different. So our skill set, all our experience needs to be there, but also we've got to be open to the fact we perhaps need some more or different or revised skills to deal with what we're doing with at the moment, because let's face it, it's different. So therefore it's fair enough that perhaps you need to look at some things in a different way. So the program that both of you have been on together with, with the rest of the delegates, was looking at business skills and looking at different ways, like the difference of selling, of relational to transactional selling, or how you talk with people, how you get on with people, how you create teams in a different environment. And those teams can be the team that you work with, if you have a team, or the team which is your clients, or the team which is your suppliers. Because right now we're all in need of working as a team. We need to collaborate as much as we can, because we're seeing so many times, dare I say, in the press, where people aren't collaborating. And right now that's what we need to do. We need to keep together, work together, to get to where we need to get to.
Yeah, and of course I did mention time at the start. We're cutting it down from podcast to show, but time is a very key element of yours, isn't it, Peter? You've certainly drilled that into us over the past four lessons. That was a major key.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm 64 years old. As you get older, you start remembering the things you were told as a kid by your parents and grandparents. When you get older, and all that stuff. But the truth is, right now, people's time is very different. We're all working. The vast majority are working at home, or if you are working in an office, you're dealing with people at home. You've got all that stuff going on. You've got homeschooling going on. You've got grandparents trying to help out with grandkids and stuff. So your time is more precious than ever. And so therefore, I just ask questions and I make suggestions to you about what can you do to make the most of the seconds you've got so that you can have a life outside of whatever you're doing with your business. Because you know what it's like running your own business. It becomes all encompassing if you're not careful. And you need time for you, especially at the minute. You really do. We had a great presentation from Neil Lloyd from FBC Manby Bowdler as one of our key members this morning at one of our Connect sessions. And he talked about how they managed to keep their 200 people together. And they've put all sorts of things in place to try and help the staff have their own time and their own space, especially when you're home. If you're homeschooling at the minute and trying to run a business, it ain't easy. It's not easy for anybody. We've got our kids trying to do that with our grandkids. It's not easy at all.
No, I'm definitely an advocate for that, Pete. It's not easy, and the printer's taking some hammering as well, so it's adding to costs as well as time. Paul, yeah. Paul, you've just been on the 4-session course with myself. And I know you've done a lot more with Peter. You've taken a lot from the 4 sessions, haven't you? Even though you've known Peter for 17 years.
Oh yeah, Pete's taught me a lot over 17 years. There's always, and I think this is the thing, because when Peter first started the practice, going back a few years ago, as he said, with the sessions that he's doing this year, they're all very focused on how to do this, so people are going to learn stuff. But one of the main key points was the whole. There's 3 key points of know, like, and trust, filling the fridge, and sleeping at night. Now, for those who don't know what that's about, go check out Peter's website and it will explain stuff. But I learned a lot from that, and I won't go into it because it's a good plug to say get Peter's latest book. But there's a whole chapter that I wrote about the fact not being able to sleep at night because of business worries and how things have changed. And there's loads of other contributors to that book. And just that alone, you could learn a lot that would change your life. Because there's things that we just take as given, or we just do and just assume that's because we have to do it. And that's not always the case. If you look at it from a different angle, it changes things massively.
Yeah, it does. It does. It has. You're always learning. I think, you always need to learn. You always need to move forward. Anyway, I'm a great believer in self-development. And certainly Pete's course has brought new things to me. And the great thing was, you obviously attract, you attract who you attract. And Pete attracted 3 events people on the same, and who all clicked and made it very enjoyable and things like that. So I think we've all learned from each other as well. But of course, the structure has to be there from the course. Pete, what's your biggest pleasure out of these courses? Because you're teaching people. Is it seeing the way they behave, the way they react, the way they change over the period?
I love that. Yeah, I absolutely love that. I love people dropping me an email or a quick phone call or Zoom. Bless us on Zoom, where people, they made a difference. I've been successful, and I was published best-selling author in 12 hours with my co-author in 2006, but I lost the lot in 2007. So the fancy house and cars became a two-down rented semi-cottage and a 10-year-old Astra called Rocky. Great motor, my daughter had it. All right. And we had to build back up again. So, I'm not the yippee, I'm a business guru. We've rebuilt our business over a number of years, and we've worked damn hard to do that. And we know what it's like when times are tough. The whole thing about an empty fridge is that, when we started again, our fridge was truly empty. And so, and right now, somebody listening to this might have a pretty damn empty fridge. And, I understand, I do truly understand it. So those are the 3 keys of the practice, which is fill the fridge, sleep at night, work with people like and trust. In other words, work with good people. Good people. The thing when people come to the practice, they say, oh, they're really good people, aren't they? Really nice people. And that's because we only want to attract good people and nice people, there are a lot of people outside in this world that you'd rather not deal with, because they're the ones that don't give you the opportunity to sleep at night. And at the minute, it is about pulling together. So that, you know, the practice is doing that currently, and that's why it's expanding. And that's what I'm proud of more than anything else, I suppose. The book that Paul was talking about was 20 people inside it. I'm proud of that book because of what they did, not what I did. That's it. There it is, holding up. It's a family business. Great book. There you go. And Paul is on the front cover. Yes.
Well, I was going to get it then.
I'll put my hand over that bit, yeah, so you don't see
it. And Pete, let's not give it away because we need people to come on your course. But you have a word for the people you don't want to work with, don't you? But we'll leave it at that. We won't go into the word specifically.
They have to come on your course. Very tempted to say it, but he very kind of cleverly went round it.
Yeah.
He wanted to say knobs, but there you go.
Oh, Paul.
Right. Oh, no.
It's fine. I can take the flak. I normally get it from Ben. So if I say it, then you don't get any of the flak, Peter. So, yeah.
No, it is. And I think the key for me is, and I think that made the course relatable, is that you've done there and experienced it. And that is the key for me. Whenever anybody's teaching it, they have to experience it themselves. So full marks to you for that, Pete. And it's been a great few weeks. Thank you.
It's been my absolute pleasure.
Now, what I want to go into now is the events industry. Really tie into the events industry. Obviously, Pete, you've run a course. You've took it online very quickly. Me and Paul are going to be honest. We're going to get back in the outdoors and get back to the events safely. Of course, we always recognise it needs to be safely. What's your opinion on it at the moment?
Honestly,
yeah. To be honest,
I think we've got a long road here. That's my viewpoint. I really do. I think there's a number of critical factors. I think whatever your politics are, because I don't want to get into politics at all. I think the current team of people who are getting the jab out to everybody are doing an unbelievable job. They really are. But even so, it's going to take a considerable time because it's just it's 60 odd million, isn't it, for crying out loud? And you've got to do it twice. So, the best will in the world. And, they probably said today that by the end of March, they'll have all 50-year-olds and upwards done, which is an incredible result. It's fantastic. But until everybody's jabbed, I don't see how you can have confidence for people to go to an event, because what will happen, I think, is that some events will happen, but there'll be a whole load of people who go, I'll wait, thanks. I think the whole thing with Zoom as well, from a business perspective, has made people realize, we were discussing this morning, that far less people will go to events. I think when they do go, they'll be bigger, stronger, mean more. People will go because they want to be there. They won't go because they think they ought to, because they'll think twice about it. Excuse me, Ben, you were saying about the fact that, that perhaps you'd go and meet people in the past. You'd rather do a Zoom call and then meet people. So I think that affects the whole industry. And I think what will happen is that some people will do their damnedest to get some events out, and good luck to them for doing it. But really, properly, to me, it's next year. Yeah, I don't see it. I see stuff building, but properly, it's next year.
Yeah, I think me and Paul are pretty much the same. The problem is that the people we need at the events are the people that are going to be last to be vaccinated, and that's just who we've got, of course. But as you say, it's certainly that conversation. It's a health conversation, and we don't want anybody to take any risks at all. But it is certainly worth canvassing opinions of people. And obviously, you're from you've already said your age range, Pete, and that's you're going to be jabbed a lot earlier than me and Paul, and you're still a bit sceptical. So.
The reason why I am is just that I think people will hold back, and I think some people will be desperate to get in a room and say hello and shake hands and all the rest of it, but I think there'll be others that will be reticent. I also think the financial guys will say, do we really need an event at the minute? Because they're the ones that hold the purse strings, particularly larger corporates. And they'll have to be persuaded, because they're all going to take a big hit. The majority of them taking a big hit. So again, they'll tend to squirrel the money away in corporate and say, right, we'll hold it for next year and hang over. So that's why I think it will. I'd love to be wrong. I would absolutely love to be wrong. So that everybody says we've got events on the go, and then we'd start thinking about running some events again. But I just don't see the confidence level will happen quickly, because you've got to get everybody to a level playing field. And although they're doing an incredible job, and I just can't emphasize that enough, the teams of people who are doing this are unbelievable. We've got one of our members who is in Brum, has got a nursing background, done some training, is in Brum this week, as she puts it, stabbing people all day. But they're phenomenal. My brother's just done it in Lincolnshire. Unbelievable how fast they were, but it's a lot of people. you can't get around it. So, I'd love to be right. I just think it's going to take a decent length of time yet before we build, and I think it'll build slowly. And then I think what'll happen, and there'll be this, push where everybody want to get into an event. I think Christmas will be an interesting thing.
We spoke about this last week, and the thing is, Pete, is that September is seems to be the point of tipping point of jobs being done. So we can see business events, we can see business exhibitions and events coming back towards September. But we do fear, and I'm talking out of term. I say last week, Paul, we discussed we're fearful for the summer season, and the problem then, of course, into Oktoberfest and Christmas, when you really do need distancing to be a priority, and we're back into that element. So I think you're right. I think 2022 is going to be massive, but just got to see through 2021, and we all hope it comes back soon. So
absolutely, yeah.
But I think that leads quite nicely into the news roundup. But I'm not going to go straight to Paul. I'm going to take a bit of the flat because, Paul, I posted in the group there's another local event going, the 90s revival in June. And that's not on the scale of Glastonbury. That's 2,000 or 3,000. If we're cancelling events for 2,000 or 3,000 for 4 or 5 months away, does that reflect on what we just spoke about?
Yes and no, because I'm glad you mentioned that, because that ties in beautifully what I wanted to talk about. Because we literally posted a news story today from organisers of other festivals that are kind of between your figure of 2,000-3,000 and 147,000 like Glastonbury's, saying they are feeling confident that it will happen. Some of them are quite big names. There's Festival Republic, who put on things like Reading and Leeds. Reading and Leeds put a statement out saying, Glastonbury may have cancelled, but we're still going ahead, which is interesting. So there's some that are saying they're still doing it. I get why Glastonbury have done what they've done. We know from a couple of weeks ago, and we mentioned this on the last podcast, that they said if they don't go ahead, they will go bankrupt. Well, they found a way to basically cancel it now to basically stop the damage. So they will be around for 2022. And I think that's a reasonable decision. I don't think anybody would hold that against them. That'd be, why would you hold out to then just go bankrupt, rather have Glastonbury come back the following year? It's very up and down. Realistically, do I think a lot of festivals are going to happen? No, because if you ain't got the vaccine, you ain't going, or they ain't going to let you go. I don't know. It's still too early to say what the rules are going to be, and because they could change the rules any minute, as we know, as we've seen.
Just on that point, before you carry on, the worrying thing for me now is that people are saying they asked last year to keep the deposits, so the £50 deposits that people have paid. The problem is now they're asking again. How long do you keep asking to keep the deposits? And when people start asking for deposits back, does that then cause the cash crisis that we fear?
Well, I get the feeling with Glastonbury, it was a £50 deposit. They said, if you're happy to keep the deposit, we will, and hang it over to 2022. However, they have quite openly said, if you want that money back, you can have it. So they're obviously in a position that they could do that. They thought this through.
Yeah, that's probably why they called it early. But like you say, but
because if they'd left it to a few months, they would have had to take in a lot more money, not just deposits. They would have had to take the rest of the money in. And then if they end up refunding that is going to be far more damaging.
But Leeds and Reading, would you buy a ticket?
I haven't been to Leeds and Reading since I religiously went every year from 1997 to 2012. And I stopped going in 2012 because it was basically the same bloody headliners every year. I'd seen them about 3 times round. I think there was only 1 year in the last 10 years where I was like, I wish I'd gone to that. Would I buy a ticket? Probably not, but that's my own personal thing. If it had a load of bands that I loved and I could go, I probably would. But I've got tickets for other shows that were postponed last year, and I want to get my hands on some tickets for another show because that particular person that's performing is not performing in Birmingham. They're only performing in Manchester and London. So I might buy those tickets knowing that that's probably not going to happen because it's in June, to hopefully go to that show next year.
Interesting seeing you fighting with yourself. Yeah. You got your own conflicts going on there. You can see it. But, anyway, back to the news roundup, Paul. Sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah, final thing. Also reported today. Again, just like the festival industry, mixed thing with the expo industry. They've just announced 4 big, sort of for the industrial industry, 4 big expos that are coming to the NEC in July. They've started advertising them. But in the same day, and it's funny, Peter mentioned this about Wood, the finance people run their conferences and that. For the second year on the trot, Accountex, which is one of the world's biggest accounting expos, has now been cancelled outright for the second time in a year. So you can see that there's, again, mixed feelings. Some expos are saying they're going ahead. Some expos are like, nah, let's just leave it till next year. Very mixed reviews on it.
I'm guessing the numbers have been crunched on that expo.
I reckon so.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
0 a week, ladies and gentlemen. Available for parties, funerals, and bar mitzvahs.
But only up to 30 people when we're On that note, Pete, thank you very much for joining us. Your experience is valuable. How can people get hold of you?
Easy. You can find me on LinkedIn and email all the rest of it. Familybusinesspractice.com. That finds us. That's practice with a C. Familybusinesspractice.com. If people want me, they can obviously ask Paul or yourself. You can easily steer towards me, and love to have a chat with you. We've got lots of people joining us. We'd love to see some more good people.
Brilliant. Thanks for Pete today. It's really interesting. Thanks to everybody out there. Thanks everybody out there. Please keep safe. Please keep safe. Please keep positive. Paul, as always, sir, you've been the best co-host of the day.
Thank you. I live up to that honour.
Over and out.